one-stop shop for great wrestling. It's the WrestleCopia Podcast Network. Ray Russell brings a host of great shows right to your device. There's the Wrestling Memory Grenade, Regional Wrestling, the Wrestling Stoop with Bob Roop, the Amazing Puro Academy Show, Retro Wrestling Review with Gene Jackson, Dave Dynasty's long-running hit, Wrestling Nostalgia, Monday Warfare, Raw vs. Nitro, the hilarious Other Ship podcast, and a whole lot more. Great shows and great guests, but where do you find all this stuff? Really simple. Try logging on to WrestleCopia.com. As I like to say, it's your one-stop shop for great wrestling memories. Welcome back, everybody, to the newest edition of the Outdated Wrestling Hour podcast. Your hosts are Bob Smith and Joe Puccio. I pulled something again. We're going to talk about the year 1999 with a very special guest, a top author, and they're going to look back at that tumultuous year in pro wrestling and everything else. How old was I in 99? Let me get my, let me see, my calculator on my watch here. I think I was 86 in 99. Subtract the 6, let's see. What was I talking about? What year was it? We have a book about 1947 coming up today on the Outdated. Wait, no. Yes, I know. Hold on. It's all about the wrestling year 1999 on the Outdated Wrestling Hour. I never said I was a mathematician, did I? Did I? You young punks? That song 99 by Toto, Joe?
No.
You never heard 99 by Toto?
I can't say I remember it offhand.
99 was a 1979 single by Toto from their album Hydra, which was a pretty good seller.
Okay.
Peaked to 26 on the U.S. Billboard 100, which for an album-oriented band is pretty good. But I remember it being played on the radio a lot in the New York City area. You know why? I was listening to FM rock at that point.
I do remember 99 Luftballons.
Oh, God, don't even go there. Oh, I was a record store manager when that came out. Oh, my gosh.
You didn't like that one?
Parents bringing in their toddlers. You got the song about the balloons?
You didn't think that was a catchy song?
Why do you think I quit that back into journalism? Seriously, why do you think I quit Record World and said, I can't take it anymore. I'm going to go and do things. It was the height of the nonsense single back then. You know, please, that was my era, Jack, in the record stores. I'm not a fan of any genre. That's my problem. I was a crotchety young man. Oh, wait a minute. Hi, everybody. My name is Bob Smith, and this is the Outdated Wrestling Hour. Here's my co-host, Joe Puccio. Joe, how are you?
I'm doing okay. How are you?
I'm fine. Just I'm surprised you'd never heard 99 by Toto. I bet if you heard it, you would know.
I was just going to say that. It's cliche. Everybody always says that. Oh, if I hear it, I'll know it. But I think that probably would be the case here. It might just be one of those, the titles just slip by me. I don't know. Because I do know Toto. I saw Toto in concert before. I do like them. So I'm just not sure of that song, though.
And why am I talking about the number 99? Well, our show is about the year 1999. And there's a book out by a fellow named Ross Benish. And the name of the book, the main name is 1999. And a lot of it is about the pro wrestling of that year and that era and that decade. A phenomenal book and a great job. And a really smart guy, Ross Benish. We're going to talk to him in just a few minutes. But before we do, I figured since we're looking at 1999, let's look at the meat and potatoes of 1999, the wrestling scene. You must have been a fan then, right, Joe?
I certainly was. Yeah, 99, well into my fandom as a pro wrestling fan. I guess a transition year in some ways. I don't know. Is it a memorable year, would you say?
I couldn't remember a damn thing about it. Well, I was with some wrestling magazines at that point. I forget which one I was with. If it was 99, I was either with Main Event or WCW at that point. Or maybe I was working with After Wow, but I know I was still in the business in 99 and I just don't remember where I was or anything about it. It's a blur. I can count all the WWF champions from 1963, but I can't remember anything about 1999. So I went and jogged my memory. And I got a few notes together. I never used notes on this show, but I and here's why neither of us can remember anything about 1999. They were changing titles every week,
Yeah. Yeah.
which would in the old days never would have flew, but that's what they were doing.
Because I'm not sure what year that specifically started, but it was around that time. I want to say in like the Attitude Era of wrestling when they really started changing titles, like, like changing underwear. It was just every other week the world title would change hands. And in the past it was sort of a little bit more common for the secondary titles to be changed a little bit more often. But we're talking about the main title, the world title, whether it was WWE, WCW, or whatever it was, really, really started to annoy me.
Not only that, if we go down my list of stuff here, it's like all these gimmicky title matches, special referees and others, and that's the way it's just gone ever since that time. The gimmick match instead of just a match. You know what I
Mhm.
like? Matches. Gimmick matches? I'm not so sure.
For sure. I think it wasn't that when they did the whole McMahon Austin gimmick matches that year.
Yeah, we're gonna there's a few of them in here now.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm trying to think specifically on what it was, but I do have a vague recollection of that.
well, anyway, let's go down the list, and I'm gonna start with something I actually liked. It's just a few matches in each month. We're not gonna dwell on 1999, but this is some highlights, not all of them. There are things that other people might consider highlights I thought were, and I'm not gonna talk about them, so there. So, here we go. January. I'm gonna mention ECW. You know why? It's somebody I watched come up through the ranks in the indies in Marysville, this IWCCW. Yeah, I remember him stopping by the office, and I remember having a conversation with him before a card somewhere, and him and Dreamer, Taz, man. I always rooted for Taz. What a great guy. And in January of '99, he beat Shane Douglas for the ECW title. And ECW was going pretty great guns as an alternative to the Pablum. Although, things were getting kind of seamy now by 99. But I just love the fact that once the bell rang, everybody said, oh, he's too short. Well, when the bell rang, you didn't notice. Like Bill Dundee and other guys like that. You didn't remember their height once the bell rang.
Right.
Or the Sabu wasn't all that tall. But nobody cared. Their performances in the ring were spectacular, and Taz became a real good pro wrestler, and this was part of it.
Yeah, for sure. I do remember that pretty vividly because I ordered that pay-per-view. I always liked Taz as well. I do think a huge part of me liking him was not only was he a good, he was a good wrestler. Paul Heyman, Paulie did such a great job with him. In the original ECW, when Taz first came out, he really made him into a monster. I mean, you just mentioned his size. You don't care how short or tall this guy was because he really came across as just a fighting machine. He just seemed like a badass competitor in there. I mean, his matches with Sabu, of course, this match where he beat Shane Douglas. I always enjoyed him as well.
Well, Taz at the beginning, if you remember his first, he was still Tasmaniac for a little bit.
Correct, yeah.
And then it got shortened, and then he started to talk, and he became himself.
Right.
And that's when he bloomed. And what an athlete. What an athlete. And
He
seriously,
was a good athlete, yeah.
considering, I think at the time when I met him first, I think he was working at a gas station or something. I swear to God. Yeah, something like that. He was either an auto mechanic or something to do with the automotive industry. And to see him blossom like that was just so cool. And I like Shane Douglas too. That was pretty cool. Also in January of 1999, Vince McMahon eliminates Stone Cold Steve Austin last in a 30-man Royal Rumble match for what was supposed to be a WWF Championship match at WrestleMania, which never occurred. Vince McMahon, the promoter, winning a title shot. And this is the type of stuff that used to make me just throw my shoe at the TV. I don't know how you feel about it.
Yeah, I have mixed emotions on it. There was a part of me that did like Vince during that era, during that whole Mr. McMahon character. I didn't think I would. I don't know. To me, it was so surreal to see him like that because my first memories of him, and obviously your memories of him go even further back, but I mean, my memories of him was as a commentator on television in the 80s, and he was just this vanilla commentator where he just go out there and, very nondescript and whatever it was. And then to see what happened, what was it, 10 years later, 15 years later, where he became literally the most popular heel in the business. it's almost unbelievable that he's actually, can you imagine if in 1985, when we see Vince McMahon promoting him the first WrestleMania, knowing that 15 years later, 14 years later, the guy was going to be the winner of the Royal Rumble? It's almost unheard of.
Imagine Jim Crockett Jr. being the Intercontinental. Come on, guys. This is why I'm not fond of this decade. I'm not.
Yeah.
It's not my favorite. Let's go to February. Hollywood Hogan beat Ric Flair for the WCW title, a Super Brawl in February. That's all I have for February. So it must have not have been a lot of stuff that I'm real excited about. But Hollywood Hogan. Listen, I thought Hogan played the heel really, really well. I do. I think he was really effective as this turncoat guy who revealed himself to be really sinister and nasty underneath it all. After years of saying your prayers and eating your vitamins, he did his role well. His in-ring style at that point, I don't know, but it was what it was, and that was my highlight for February. But then you go right into March, and Flair defeats Hollywood Hogan, and he pinned him in a barbed wire steel cage first blood match for the title, and the awful uncensored pay-per-view event.
Oh, yes.
WCW Uncensored.
Yes.
And it was a terrible pay-per-view, but now Flair got the strap back pretty quickly.
I do remember that. I can't even remember any of the other matches on that show. And that uncensored name has such terrible connotations. I do remember it being hideously bad.
And here's the start of a trend that's going to go throughout the 1999. At WrestleMania in March, Stone Cold Steve Austin defeated The Rock. No DQ match for the WWF Championship with Mick Foley as special guest referee. Remember special guest referees. You're going to hear a lot of this. Here's my question about this match. If it's a no DQ, why do they need a special referee? Maybe referees were getting knocked out left and right. They needed a big burly guy who wouldn't get knocked out. Maybe, I don't know. Anyway, Stone Cold won, and I'm sure it was, I can't tell who was the heel back then. Do you remember?
Yeah, right. I know. I couldn't tell you either in that show.
They're both anti-heroes, so it didn't really matter.
Yeah.
They were just definitely the two most popular guys at that point.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure that was the year that the Brawl for All match with Butterbean, was that his name? Butterbean, where he fought Bart Gunn. Butterbean and Bart Gunn in that infamous Brawl for All.
What a joke. No, you know what? You can laugh. People got legit hurt.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not for that at all. And there's more of the Vince Russo curse.
Yeah.
That's all I can say. I don't feel the way about him that Cornette does. And I think he's a nice person in real life. I really do. But his booking. Anyway, in April, Spring Stampede, DDP, Diamond Dallas Page defeated Flair, Hogan, and Sting in a Four Corners match with Randy Savage as special guest referee. I don't remember a thing about that match. Do you remember it?
I do not.
I remember they replayed it on TV, and I felt kind of good for DDP, though. There's a guy who a lot of people didn't think would ever be a good pro wrestler. He started out as a manager.
Yep.
And worked his way into it and became a really good pro wrestler. He was over like crazy.
And he started pretty late, right? Because, he was a manager for a while, and it was, I don't even know what age it was, but from the time he actually put on the tights as a wrestler, he was already up there. And yeah, I got to admit, he's a hard worker. You can't take that away from him. He always went out there. He gave it his all. Can't say he's ever been one of my favorites, but he always seemed to really go out there and give it his all. He never half-assed it.
I had some dealings with him. He's a good guy. And I'll tell you one thing. How many people has he helped with that DDP yoga? Some famous and some just normal walking around people that went from let's just say very, very obese into buff. Not a little buff, real buff. It's amazing to me.
But I did it for a while. And
DDP yoga?
I did. Yeah. I was a subscriber for about maybe a little less than a year. It was good. That's another story. It just, it is a good program, and you're talking to someone who did it, himself. And I think it's got some really great benefits. Like anything else, you got to make sure you get the workouts in, and you got to eat right. So it's like any other kind of regimen, but it's good. My wife does yoga. She does the regular type of yoga, and she did it with me a few times because she wanted to kind of get into it too. And she said it's really, really intense. It's certainly an intense yoga, but yeah, it was good. It was good.
Good to hear. Also in April, Backlash. Stone Cold Steve Austin defeated The Rock in a no-holds-barred match for the WWE World Championship with Shane McMahon as special guest referee. See the pattern that's going on here? All these special guest referees probably going to cheat on somebody's behalf, I'm thinking. But I don't remember the match. Do you remember the match?
I wish I did. It's just, these gimmick matches. And that's the other thing. There's all these gimmick matches, and they were doing them every month. So it's not like it was, every 4 months or something. I mean, how do you remember a gimmick match if they're doing the same thing every month or every other month?
Let's go to May. Slamboree. Yahoo! Kevin Nash defeated DDP for the WCW World Heavyweight Championship. I wonder if he was booking at that point. Remember he's booking for a while?
He was booking for a while.
Then there was an event called Over the Edge in Missouri. The Undertaker defeated Stone Cold in a singles match for the WWF Championship with Shane McMahon as special guest referee. I don't know what to say. Then there was King of the Ring in May. Vince and Shane McMahon defeated Stone Cold in a 2-versus-1 handicap ladder match for control of the World Wrestling Federation, not the belt, the company.
Wow. High stakes.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Remember that short period? It was kind of a comedy thing where Austin was running the show.
Yeah.
And he was having like Stephanie McMahon sell soda and stuff like that.
Yeah,
And it was
yeah.
everybody was doing menial tasks. And I guess they got the company back by beating Stone Cold 2-against-1. Sounds good, doesn't it?
Riveting stuff.
August. Road Wild. You can tell which organization that is. Hulk Hogan defeated Kevin Nash in a retirement match for the WCW World Heavyweight Championship. Retirement match? Do you remember this?
Vaguely. You said this was Road Wild. So this was that was the show that Bischoff created, I guess, because of his whole biker background and everything. Yeah. Vaguely remember it.
All right. Now here's a big one. SummerSlam. Mankind, still as Mankind, defeated Steve Austin and Triple H in a triple threat match for the WWF Championship with Jesse Ventura as special guest referee. There's old Mick Foley in the middle of things again.
This one I do remember for the simple fact it was Ventura's return. That was pretty big for me because I was always such a huge Ventura fan that I really loved him coming back, even though it was brief.
Yes, everybody was looking forward to that. He was still in shape back then.
He was,
remember?
yeah.
He still looked like Jesse. September, Fall Brawl. Sting defeats Hogan for the WCW World. And there's nothing else to say about it. Wow. No specials or additionals. It's just a match. I like that. Nice.
What a concept.
Yeah, I know. Also in September, Forgiven, WWF. Listen to this one. It's going to take an hour to read this. It's like a phone book. Triple H defeated The Big Show, the British Bulldog, Kane, Mankind, and The Rock in a 6-pack challenge for the vacant WWF Championship with Stone Cold Steve Austin as special outside enforcer.
Oh, so he wasn't the referee on this one. He was an outside enforcer.
I guess he was allowed to throw people back in the ring or something like that.
And I like did you say it was called a 6-pack challenge?
That's what it says.
Huh. That's an interesting twist. So they wanted to even get a little fancy with the name of the match.
I was buying all these pay-per-views. I was buying these and I don't remember them. Why was I buying them if, like, you know what they were? The wrestling was like Chinese food back then. You forgot what you ate an hour later. It's amazing.
It's something that I talk about all the time. You said I was buying all these and I don't remember them. This is why one of the worst things that ever happened was when they started them as monthly specials, because basically the more of them you have, the more forgettable they become. Why do we remember things that happened in the early pay-per-views, the early WrestleManias, the early SummerSlams? The reason why we remember is because there was only 4 pay-per-views a year. By this point, they were doing pay-per-views every single month. How are they special anymore?
I hear you. I mean, I'm going through this and going, why don't I remember this?
Yeah, that's why.
October, another Halloween Havoc. Goldberg defeats Sting for the WCW title. November, Survivor Series. Big Show defeated Triple H and The Rock in a triple threat match for the WWF Championship. So here's another thing. Championships changed left, right, sideways in both organizations.
Mm-hmm.
That's not how championship used to be. You know, I didn't mind Roman Reigns holding the title for a long time because champions hold the title for a long time. It made the title special.
Absolutely.
You had to really be something to win it. If somebody's winning it every 2 months, how special is it?
It's not.
How many champions have I listed just from 1999 right there? And we're not even done yet. You know, okay, all right, here we go. Who's next? November. I just said Big Show. Then Mayhem in WCW. Bret Hart defeated Chris Benoit by submission in the final for a vacant WCW World Championship. You know what's sad? I didn't even remember Bret Hart was ever the champion there. Did you remember that?
I do remember it, but I don't blame you for not remembering because it was so forgettable and they booked him so terribly. That's one of the great wastes in wrestling history. Bret Hart going to WCW back then.
Absolutely true. And then in December, it's another Hart beat Goldberg again. It's Starrcade. No DQ match. But that, I understand, was probably one of Goldberg's better performances. And with Hart, he probably carried him the whole time, and it had to be a good match. So I wrote it down because people thought that was a good match.
Was that the match that Goldberg injured Hart in, where Hart still holds a grudge to this day?
Beats me. I really don't know.
It
But
might be.
I just know that may be that match. And again, there was no title change there. I just wrote it down because everybody seemed to think that was a match to see. Over 1999 overall, let's push on David Flair. David Flair, a push. The only saving grace was the first appearance of Tori Wilson. I'll put it that way. No, honestly, she showed up on TV. I'm like, what am I looking at here? Remember she's in an elevator or something? And there was no words said or anything, just showing her.
Yeah.
And after all these years of Moolah and her contingent of 5'1" superstars, here comes Tori Wilson. I couldn't believe what I was seeing, to be honest with you. Just from the faces, she was so feminine and like model like.
Yeah.
Then WCW also pushed the cruiserweights, which was okay.
Yep.
That's fine. The cruiserweight matches were great, but they practically ruined Goldberg with all the stop-start opportunities and bad matches they had him do. And all the angles. And then countless matches with faceless NWO members, not Hogan, Kevin Nash. We're talking Scott Norton and whoever they threw the T-shirt on that week. They really, really squashed the NWO all by themselves with bad booking and too many members.
They did, because it was a cool concept. I mean, nobody can deny it. When it first came out, when that whole first angle started, it was cool. It was interesting. It was must-see TV for a while. And then, like anything else, they just beat it to death. I think by 99, it was already, like you said, it was on its last legs.
But 75 members. Who was asking for Scott Norton and Buff Bagwell to be in the NWO?
And they had the different colors. Remember, they did the red and black,
the
with the red and yellow, the white,
yeah.
this and that. So yeah, it was crazy.
So let's go over to the WWF, the Rock Mankind feud. It's memorable. You remember a lot about that one. I mean, violent, crazy, unbridled, maybe too unbridled action between those two guys.
Was that the year they did the Super Bowl halftime show? Remember they did that? There was at the Super Bowl halftime, if you switched over to like USA, there was a Rock Mankind match, I believe. That might have been 99. Might have been.
Then you had the continuance of the preposterous Vince Russo booking, as I have it written down. Yeah, I can't. Anybody who was around at that point, we were all just pulling our hair out by the roots. Had the greatest talent in the world right there, and what are they doing? They had 6 world champions that year, which reduced the legacy of the WWE title. They had Triple H, The Rock, Mankind, Steve Austin, Undertaker, and Big Show all in the same year.
Yep.
And I'm like, really? That's got Vince Russo written all over it.
Yeah.
Let's change everything. Old wrestling is boring. Terrible. Bringing the McMahon family into storylines over and over and over again, preposterous angles, The infamous wedding that saw Stephanie get drugged by Triple H and non-consensually married at the drive-up chapel and all that stuff. Now you're laughing, so you obviously found something to like about that.
I gotta say that one always, I got a kick out of that angle. It was so out there, but yeah, I think it was more my age at that time watching it, but that was a nutty angle for sure. That was also 99 was the year that SmackDown debuted.
I think you're right about that, yeah.
Yeah.
Then we had the corporation, led by Vince and his son, and other wrestlers joined in this corporation. Right? Mm-hmm. Then you had the debut of Val Venus. I'll just leave that where it lays. If you liked it, fine. As for me, kind of stretching it. And probably the highlight of 99, the cat showed her boobs at the Armageddon pay-per-view. So
right.
Stacey Carter in just panties, which is, and if you blinked, you missed it, but a lot of people saw it. Boy, that got talked about.
Oh, yeah.
Sergeant Slaughter throwing a towel over. Boo.
Yep.
Oh, my gosh.
If I could say one thing about 99 that in all seriousness was, for me, a great thing, that was the debut year for one Bryan Danielson. Bryan Danielson is one of my all-time favorite wrestlers, and that was his beginnings, so I'm curious to see who else came out that year. I just know of Danielson, but I'm sure there's other notable names.
For time's sake, I kind of kept it to the big two at that point because it's like as popular as ECW was, it's still a fraction of the audience of the big two. Overall, though, as our guest is going to reveal in his book, there was tons of coarse language and tasteless angles all throughout 99 and actions throughout wrestling that were really low rent, like even in ECW. And then again, that's what that place was all about. Stretching boundaries, ECW, everything was meant to be extreme. So we're going to go over a lot of that when our guest comes out. And before we go, I have to ask you something. This is going to be a couple of weeks past the point of his debut. Can you explain to me what a Danhausen is?
Okay, Danhausen was, I have to say, was fairly over in
Wait. You got to back up. Did he wrestle?
Yes, he
Because
wrestled.
I'm hearing people saying, well, now he's in WWE, but he shouldn't wrestle. So if he shouldn't wrestle, why is he in the WWE? What is this? Just a comedy act?
Oh yeah, he's a total comedy act, but I mean he wrestles, but I mean he's obviously there for primarily for comic relief. He did get over when he was in Ring of Honor. He had a brief stint in AEW a few years ago. I have to say I don't remember much about it. Kind of crazy that they brought him in. I know the joke is that he's sort of like the newest version of the gobbledygooker. How he
I was the first one to put it on Facebook, Jack. People blaming that. I am telling you, I beat everybody to the punch on that.
Oh, did you? Okay, yeah. And I know Dave said
When
it
it
as
was
well
going
on
on,
Wrestling Radio.
I taped into Facebook when it was going on. Well, old Danny got a gobbledygooker reaction.
Yeah. When the lights went off, when they went back to the commentating team, there were boos. People were not happy with that.
But here's the thing: if people wanted to, I know there's a lot of people who wanted him there, wanted him to be in the box. So stupid. They wanted him to be in the box, so they got him. But what did they want him to do once he left the box? You know what I'm saying? There's no sense to any of this stuff.
But who
First of
wanted
all,
him there? Are you talking about fans or people?
fans online were like, "Oh, I'm hoping it's Danhausen."
Oh,
I'm
really?
like, why?
Yeah.
And I'm literally responding. I don't respond to fans. I was saying, well, why do you want him? Why? You see what WWE does with Otis and Tozawa and R-Truth. He's going to be another one of them. And The Miz, right? The guys who were there for comedy relief. How's it going to be any better or any worse than any of that stuff?
I don't know. It remains to be seen. I don't know what they're going to do with him. I don't know if he's some sort of ambassador where he's going to go around and just make appearances for them, if he's actually going to wrestle. I have no idea. He doesn't really seem like the type of wrestler that I would think Triple H would want to bring in. And I mean, you know what? They did it to themselves by that reaction, because they put it up where, oh, there's a box and who's going to be there, and they promoted it every week. And then they do something stupid like this. It's like, what do they expect? What do they think the people are going to do? Cheer? I mean, come on.
An ambassador to who? Bill Lugosi? No, seriously, I don't understand the feel. He's evil and he's nice is his deal or something. I don't understand any of this. I don't understand Joe Hendry. I don't understand Orange Cassidy. This is the stuff that makes me do the outdated entertainment hour and forget the wrestling. That's how bad it is to me.
It's sort of like, I think he's supposed to have this like Rocky Horror Picture vibe. Like that's, what's his name? Franken.
No, again, we're talking about things that have nothing to do with quality match inside the squared circle, are we? Mm-hmm. So I don't understand what the point of this is. I'm asking everybody, and they all go, well, he's Danhausen. Huh? You like his makeup, maybe? He's got that cool look? I can't come to grips with it.
Yeah.
And again, I know it's going to I didn't ever say the word on the show. I know it's going to be terrible. No matter what they have him do, it's going to be a waste of time.
Yep.
But then again, they have, 6 hours of primetime TV to fill up? Maybe they're going to put more pie fights and stuff. Who knows?
Well, that is true as well. With all the hours of content they need to fill, I guess maybe there is time for Danhausen.
You're right. Bring them on. A good Three Stooges style pie fight, I'm always for that. Do you like the pie fights in the Three Stooges? Sure. Oh, they're great.
I'm not a big pie fight guy. Fan guy.
There's one that's spectacular. Oh, gosh. They're supposed to become gentlemen, and by the end of the show, everybody's covered in meringue.
Yeah.
And some guy's sleeping, he gets smashed with a pie, and woman goes, stop it, and gets hit right in the mush with the coconut cream. That's my kind of stuff. I'm sorry. The erosion of dignity. Somebody once wrote that what makes the Stooges funny, they'd be surrounded by, how dare you ruffians act splat. Right?
Right.
The erosion of dignity. Nothing could be dignified with Mo, Larry, and Curly there.
No, yeah.
And that's, I think, what made them so special. And let's face it, most of film audiences that go to see Columbia Pictures were paying their 75 cents for escapism. These are normal walking around working people. I think the Stooges were the working people's comedy troupe, but that's just my opinion about that. My parents thought the Marx Brothers were too highbrow.
I don't know what to say to that.
Well, let's hope for some WWE pie fights. That's all I know. Oh, man. Well, Joe, what's going on with the X-Wire, Generation X-Wire, the entertainment website? It's not like any other one you'll find, and the price is always right. Tell us something about it.
We have a review of the new U2 EP. This is actually kind of interesting. U2 released a either 5 or 6 song EP. There was no advance notice of it. They just put it out. That's kind of big for a band like U2 because I don't think they put out original music in about a decade. And we have a review on the site by JC Correa, who did a deep dive into that. We have Scout Taylor Compton, who is an actress from The Runaways and from the Rob Zombie Halloween movies. She's in a new movie. I just got to see a screener of this, so that'll be on the website as well. So lots of different things coming around. I'm always looking, so we'll see what happens. We'll see what's on the horizon.
Well, you have to buy a bottle of Listerine and get ready for next week, because next week you and I are going to talk about our favorite things. We're going to talk about just stuff we like.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, we're going to talk about, we're going to break away from format a little bit and the facts and figures. I've been around a lot of historians lately, which is fine. But Joe and I are just going to look back at stuff we really, really enjoy. And you're looking forward to that one?
Every once in a while, just nice not to have a specific period or something, a specific era to talk about, but just kind of go with our memory and say, remember that match? Remember that angle? Remember when this happened? Remember when you, where were you when you saw this match? Things like that. It's cool.
Yes, it's going to be Bob and Joe's favorite thing. I think I did one somehow with Gennarelli on the other show on the Entertainment Hour or something like that. And as you hear this, we have a Steely Dan Entertainment Hour with Steve Gennarelli out. And I hope people enjoyed that too. As he looks back as his fandom, and I offer a lot of facts and figures about their career. Because he's a super, super duper Steely Dan guy.
Nice.
We have Ross Benish, and we're going to talk about 1999. Not just a year, it's a book, and a really interesting one. Stay tuned, we'll be right back. It's author time again on the Outdated Wrestling Hour, and we're really lucky this time because this gentleman reached out to me a little while ago and said, do you know about my book? So I bought the book. And I read, I'd say 3/4 of it at this point. This is good stuff. I'm just going to introduce you. It's Ross Benish. Welcome to the show.
Hey, great to be here, Bob.
Now, the book is entitled, you're going to like this, 1999, the year low culture conquered America and kickstarted our bizarre time. Tremendous book. Tremendous book. And it really does key in on pro wrestling of the 1990s in a way that I'm shocked that a non-regular wrestling writer would write. And so that's the biggest compliment that I can give you.
Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Because you're not a wrestling journalist, but your writing belies the fact that you may be a wrestling journalist. So obviously you're into this stuff, right?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Wrestling from the 90s is like some of my favorite pop culture that I grew up with. And I've written about wrestling a little bit. I did a profile on Johnny Rods for Deadspin, and I did some local newspaper articles on wrestlers, but I never did it as a full-time profession. It was like something that I would write about from time to time because it was in my many interests.
I fell into wrestling, man. It's the greatest fluke that ever happened to me. I was a newspaper reporter turned sports editor of a newspaper, and then I moved to a bigger paper. And about a year later, there was an ad in the New York Times. I answered it and got the job of Pro Wrestling Illustrated. Of course, it didn't hurt that I'd covered Mike Tyson extensively. And they published boxing magazines too, so I seemed like a natural fit. Yeah, I worked my way into the managing editor job, and it was a wrestling fan's dream job. I can't think of anything better than that other than working with one of the organizations. So I got lucky. In your case, though, I mean, you've written about all sorts of things for some of the top publications in America. I mean, if I went down the laundry list of who you've written for, you're probably Pulitzer bait or something like that, because that's the level of journalism that you're taking part in. So I'm really impressed with both you and this book. But let's get into the book. The 1990s really were a changing period. I'm probably the most in my mind's eye since the 70s, when people kind of open up sexually and there was a sexual revolution. And I think in the 70s, entertainment got, I don't know the word for it, kind of opened up. anything goes in the 70s. And, the advent of the X-rated film as an entertainment thing. And then things mellowed out in the 80s, and then we had the 90s. But the book you chose, the 90s, particularly 1999, and that really was a bellwether for, the coarsening of society, is the way you put it.
Yeah, that 99 in particular for sure was, and it was just a little sillier than the years around it, like if you had 98 or 2001. That era, you got a lot of entertainment aimed at young people, and I feel like, wrestling was going for that young adult demographic at the time when they made it a little raunchier. You had all those teen movies. Stuff that was being produced was for, like, men 35 and younger, and it did very well. The internet allowed all this stuff to spread in a way that hadn't before. I think that's a big reason why a lot of this entertainment from that era it became so pervasive, is it attached itself to an emergent media that previous entertainment formats would have had no shot at doing. Like it wasn't like it is today, but the fans connected over this stuff in ways that they still remember today.
Mhm. Well, I look back at that decade with my rapidly aging mind, what's left in here from my memory bank. I actually remember a lot of stuff. I remember around mid-decade in the 90s, if you start that decade in what now is WWE, Greasy Kid stuff, right?
Yeah,
They're
Doink the Clown and stuff like that, right?
very broad characters, Hillbilly Jim and all those guys. And the start in the 80s, some of them were still around. But then when they had trouble in the early 90s with numerous scandals and attendance went down, they had still been catering to little children when all of a sudden, when the period I'd say around 92, when attendance was really, really bad, they started doing these extreme violent angles on their morning syndicated shows, like the Jake the Snake Roberts snake bite incident with Randy Savage and the Big Boss Man getting beat up for like 10 minutes on TV by an escapee from a prison or whatever that character was called, Nails. You know what I'm saying? It's like almost on a dime, they said, well, we can't attract the kids anymore. Let's go in the other direction. And by the time 1999 rolled around, it was almost anything goes.
Yeah. I mean, they were doing what was successful. Like, if you looked at, like, talk shows, they got crazier around that time, like the Jerry Springer Show and Ricky Lake. I think movies got a little crazier. Like I mentioned earlier, video games became more violent. It seemed like that's what the consumer wanted at that moment. So, like, what wrestling did, whether you call it the Attitude Era or whatever you want to call it, where it became more violent and more in your face, really just a reflection of the times. I think you'd see a similar trend in, like, various other entertainment. It doesn't stand alone at all. Like, it's very emblematic of late 90s.
Well, how about opinion shows too on cable news, like CNN and Fox? Instead of having people discussing the matters of the day, you had people, yelling at each other.
Well, yeah, it became wrestling-like. Like, you have your heel and your baby face, and the way they would, like, portray someone coming out to just get berated. It was like you're setting up a squash match so you can just show what one side is very much superior to the other side. I think that was a lot of what was on TV at the time.
Yes. One thought that did creep into my mind as I'm reading your 1999 treatise is that I was raised on 1970s wrestling. I remember 1970s being the first year when I could understand pro wrestling. I was 12 years old, right? Really got into it. But if you picked up a wrestling magazine that era, between 1970 and maybe 1975, 76, gory, bloody-faced covers with salacious lady wrestler articles and stuff, that stuff was kind of crass, too. I mean, that was real barbershop fodder. The ads were for blow-up love dolls and fake guns and things. I'm not even making this up. Are you aware of that era at all in the 70s?
Well, I didn't know the magazine ads were for blow up dolls and guns.
Oh, yeah.
That's kind of interesting. I mean, I'm aware of that era of wrestling a little bit, but not anything like to the degree of familiarity you have.
You know what I love? The juxtaposition. They used to have an ad in the magazine company I worked for. Full page ad of something called Amazing Spy Eye, which supposedly let you see through doors, windows, and floors to see the lady in the next apartment. So basically, it was an ad for $8.95. You could become a peeping Tom. But elsewhere in the same magazine, dig this, there was a pen pal section where children as young as 10 were looking for male pen pals. So you have this most perverted, oddball stuff being sold on one page. Flip to the next, and little Betty Sue is looking openly, and they printed their home addresses and everything else. It was just,
that's crazy.
It was, find some 70s wrestling magazines. I'm telling you, you will flip.
I suppose it helps that a lot of that stuff was kept off of cable TV at the time.
or maybe there was no cable at all.
Yeah, as I'm saying, you could operate a little more in the underground and do that.
I had to bring up the '70s because a lot of promotions in the '70s were very bloody, very violent, anything goes. And then with the advent of, WWE taking over all the small territories, they went away and they softened it and they softened it. And TV wrestling wasn't nearly as violent or cruelty, not as much sadism, we'll put it that way. Guys trying to bust each other open and stuff like that.
Well, yeah,
But
you're
then we
selling to
get it
national advertisers on TV, right?
that too. Yeah.
Like, you gotta s but they want it softer.
I mean, I couldn't believe it. What, around 82, 83 in WWE, which was then with the WWF, at the end, promotional consideration paid for by the following, they went totally corporate. They could barely get ads back in the day. In fact, wrestling used to have to buy its way on TV with a barter system. Now they were making advertising dollars. It just Vince McMahon did all that.
Yeah, they're making, huge ad dollars by then, the wrestling they would no longer have to call themselves Sunday Sports in the Nielsen ratings, they could just list that it's Monday Night Raw or Monday Night Nitro, and advertisers were gonna buy in the '90s in the way that they had it before. That part of, like, picking '99 when I look at pivotal moments and you talk about it becoming corporatized, like, that's the year WWE went public. Like, there's no more,
Right.
sign that you are part of corporate America than doing that and then being listed on a stock exchange. Probably had to be mind blowing for you guys who were following wrestling for decades prior to that when it didn't have that corporate interest.
You can imagine what it was like in our office when I walk in one day with a copy of the New York Times under my arm and go to my publisher, Stu Sachs. I said, Stu, you're going to have to read this article. And it was the article about Christine Whitman in New Jersey abolishing the state athletic commission
Mhm.
because they didn't want to pay those taxes or fees. And the gist of the article was they admit it's all fake. The magazines try to keep the kayfabe all this. He practically fell on the floor. It was like his face turned white. He's reading this. He's not believing the word he was seeing. That's how rapidly things were changing in the '90s.
I liked her press conference where the Undertaker was there, like, in character to sign
Yeah.
the tombstone shaped bill. I haven't seen a tax bill press conference quite like that since.
Everybody should be ashamed. We'll put it that way. I'm of the opinion that the farther that wrestling has flung open the doors and said, "Here's what we do," the less entertaining it is. No matter how big the
Hmm.
shows are, no matter how athletic
Yeah.
and appealing the athletes are, it's just once that is it or isn't it factor goes out of your head and you think it's just a show, we go watch a show on NBC. We all know it was scripted and predetermined, but you want a fight to look like a fight, then you can get lost in it. But now knowing a
Yeah.
lot of the techniques and they're just opening the door so wide, how do you feel about that? Because you obviously
I
enjoyed
feel a little
wrestling.
different, yeah, because I feel like, and there was probably a contingent like this in the '90s. I'm growing up in the '90s. I was born in '89. That when they killed kayfabe and you have a separation of, like, the person and the character, like, Dwayne Johnson can be on the Tonight Show as Dwayne Johnson and not be in The Rock. I found it all to be a promotion for the big event, even if they're kind of giving away the how secret they're. When they did that, their ratings tended to grow. Like the '90s, the ratings were, late '90s are really high. They were able to promote themselves in some venues that I think would have been more challenging if those guys always had to pretend that it was all real and they were in character all the time. I'm not really that familiar with what it was like before that because that's just normal to me, what you're describing, the breaking of kayfabe. Because that's
Right.
like what was around me when I was into wrestling and when I was introduced to it.
Now, since you are a worldly person with many interests, I can see that just from reading, seeing some of your articles. What attracted you? Were you a kid? Were you into it then? I mean, just give me your overall perspective on what you got you into this and how. By the time you wanted to write about it, you had so many facts and figures already in your head before you researched.
Yeah, so I mean, part of it is I was a kid. Like, I watched a ton of wrestling, had all the wrestling video games, had a bunch of the action figures in the '90s. Like the Monday Night Wars were some of the most fun I had with my friends growing up. Like watching that and flipping back and forth between the channels. So I had familiarity with it then. I didn't. I haven't stayed with it all the time. Like I'll drop off and not watch much wrestling. I'll watch some pay-per-views here and there, when I watch it, I still always find it interesting, and I've always liked giving, like, a thorough take and, like, intellectualizing something that many people don't take seriously, so like wrestling when I did this book, like that's what appealed to me to go back and treat it like any other topic is because I remember getting shit as a wrestling fan, or even today, if I say like I watched Raw or something on Netflix, people be like, "You watched that?" Like, yeah, why not? It's entertaining as hell. I always like to give depth to things like that. So like I've wrestling in here, I have video games, I have Jerry Springer. I've written about porn in the past. I want to say they're all taboo, but like entertainment that people scoff at is stuff that I like to really dig into, and most of it I'm a fan of, even if I'm not like actively following it the way that I once did.
Who could be? Particularly in this.
Oh my god,
To,
the number of things that you would have to keep up with if you wanted to
oh
follow every federation, like it's
yeah,
crazy.
yes, it is crazy. Although it was, if you could believe this, when I was with the wrestling magazines, it was the very end of the territorial system.
Oh,
We
true.
promoted there, they promoted there, they promoted
We
there.
probably had more things back then than we do
Yeah.
now.
And I ended up, oh shoot, our ratings pages had about 10 or 11, maybe 12 different organizations that were still barely hanging on by a thread, but they did hang on until about 95 or so. As I'm working there, I started in 88. This one went out of business. This one closed. This one was forced. This one sold. I mean, even what became WCW was sold to Ted Turner, which was the beginning of that Monday Night War period.
Yeah.
And we all know what that led to.
Yeah, yeah. With all of the stuff of mid-90s wrestling, it was I only had 2 or 3 things to keep track of. Like it was WWF, WCW, and to a lesser extent ECW, but I much exposure to ECW because it was like home video, and I didn't have like the top satellite package. I'd see the infomercials for their home videos, but I never got into it. So it's really just like those two, WCW and WWF. And now, like with the internet and following shit around the world, I feel overwhelmed beyond, I keep up a little bit with WWF. I watched some documentaries here and there. Like I thought the wrestlers with Al Snow on Netflix was really good with Ohio Valley, but I feel overwhelmed getting into it now. It was almost easier. It's like if there was like 6 football leagues, I'd have trouble. I have trouble keeping track of the NFL standings the way it is.
Yeah. It's funny that you mentioned that these days you have WWE on like 5 different platforms.
Yeah,
I mean, I never saw the day. I never envisioned that it
you
would
need
be so
streaming
big
and
that
linear television to keep up.
yeah, at the same time. And then, there's a PLE. Didn't that used to be a pay-per-view? Where is it? Where is it being broken? Oh, it's not there. Let me look over here. It's got even baseball and football are doing this now, and
Yeah.
the NBA. The NBA is on so many different networks now. I don't know which channel to tune into my local team to watch.
Yeah, I actually was gonna watch the Royal Rumble because I thought it was gonna be on Peacock because that's how I've watched pay-per-views before,
Right.
and then I was like, "Oh, shit, I gotta subscribe to this ESPN Unlimited thing?" Like, I don't wanna pay, for another subscription, so I just didn't watch the Rumble.
Here's the thing about that too. Now we subscribe as our TV platform, Hulu Plus Live TV, which is a streaming service. But the streaming services come in as well as cable does. So we switched years ago, and this is the second one we've tried. Now, because I have that package that also includes Disney Plus and something else, I simply downloaded the app, turned it on, and I've been watching those PLEs for free ever since. And people are complaining online that no, I have to pay an extra $30 a month. I think they're doing something wrong. I
Yeah.
think a lot of the people would think they have to pay really don't have to if you assemble the thing properly. Like if you go and get the app without putting your other password in, yeah, I don't think they know how to hook it up. I don't want to just take
It
a
might
break here,
be
folks.
different if, like, I mean, you're if you have Hulu with live TV, that's Disney, and
Right.
ESPN Unlimited is Disney, so you probably get a bundle that they
Yeah.
wouldn't get if they were on YouTube TV, for instance.
Right, or if they have regular Hulu without the live TV's part.
Oh,
That's
yeah, that's a
probably
much
where
cheaper
that's probably
product.
where the gap is.
That could be, yeah.
Yeah. All I know is I plugged it in and I've seen everything they broadcast there so far, so I don't know what to think. But I do wanna tell my listeners who are a little older, "Hey, guys, try it again. Try it again. Try it again by downloading the app and then putting in your Disney password and not creating a new account." I think that's your problem, a lot of people who are paying for it and don't have to.
Yeah, or, you just go to Stream East or something like that, and
Uh-oh. Oh,
use it.
sh Yeah. Well, anyway, back to your book in 1999. Really was if you look at the entertainment of 1989, we talk about wrestling. If you look at the wrestling of the the WWF from 1980 to 1989, January does not even resemble December. Things changed so much in that decade. And I think you could say the same thing from 89 to 99, maybe double. What do you think?
Yeah, that's what makes it so interesting. Is it's such a profound transformation, and then not just that WWF, like WCW from the '80s, and then like the NWO era. That's like a way different ballgame. Not even the wrestling matches, just the way the promos are even shot, the way it's marketed, everything about the presentation of it changes so much. It might be nostalgia, but like I think that's like the one of the coolest eras of wrestling is like that era right there. But I was kind of the target demo of being like a young dude who's into sports and channel surfing.
Well, let me ask you a question as you were getting into it, those years that you just spoke of. Now, when I was a youth way back in the dark ages, you'd go to a wrestling live show, and the fans were there to see the fan favorite or the good guy get revenge on something the bad guy did or simply doesn't like the bad guy, wants to see him get a beat. That's as far as the mindset went. I am
Yeah.
serious. By the time you're looking at wrestling, things had opened up to the point where the fan mindset's entirely different. They're booking along with the booker. They're saying this guy's not getting pushed right. Why are they burying that guy? The fan mindset is based on what's going on behind the scenes as much as it is in the ring. Do you think that lessens the entertainment value for them, or do you think it's just a different thing altogether?
I think it's more of a different thing. It's like participatory media. The fans get to somewhat have a say. If enough of them are vocal, they might decide to push someone else. Like I just think about all the shit Roman Reigns got for years from fans. It probably affected the way that the story was written. I think for some fans, that becomes kind of fun. Like that's part of what they're coming in for. Not just the wrestling show, but the ability to have their voice heard. If they're young, that's what they're accustomed to. They interact with their favorite celebrities on social media. They like and comment and share everything. They like to be able to participate in some way, even if it's just like saying how much they like or dislikes a person. They don't want to just sit back and let it all come to them. It's a little bit different, I think.
We'll come back to 1999 again, where everything kind of opened up. People started yelling at each other on TV. Language got worse. Like you say, things got crasser, right? That's a good word for it. We cut to right now. Do you think that social discourse has been aided or ruined by social media? Do you think it's more of an opportunity to exchange free-flowing ideas? Or do you think we're becoming a society that just yells at each other behind the safety of a keyboard?
Yeah, it's probably been more of a downside than an upside. I don't think it's all of one, but I'd say it's a net negative overall. At least it feels that way at this moment. I like to think there are positives of like you do connect with people and stay in touch with people. There are things that get produced that wouldn't otherwise. People can become famous now in ways that they would have been not able to because there'd have been more gatekeepers preventing them from having roles in the entertainment industry. Some of those are kind of good things, but when we just treat like whatever gets the most attention as being the first thing you should see, it's a little nuts. If you could take any search, you could take any topic and you search it, YouTube could be like recommending the top 5 videos could just be all BS. There's no editorial judgment in any of this other than people clicked on it. Like, you could 10 videos that say this massacre was a hoax before you get to like a real one produced by journalists that has like facts in it. So it's a little nerve wracking. And it seems like the public isn't attuned properly to discern fact from fiction with some of this stuff. Say they see something on Facebook or YouTube and believe it because it was there, even though it's just nonsense. And you've always had some of that in media, but I think it's more aggressive now because of social media.
If you go back to my era, when I was working with Pro Wrestling Illustrated and those magazines, like we published like 1,000 different titles or something. Here we were in the late 80s, and here comes the wrestling newsletters, which took a chunk of our business. We didn't poo-poo them. We just thought they were an adjunct to what we were doing. But I do know that they were eroding some fans who switched to newsletters from magazines because of the immediacy of the newsletter. It came out once a week, and you could get that news, those title changes and all that stuff faster than we could publish. In a newsstand magazine, it took 6 weeks to get it from completed book onto the newsstand. So that's a long time. A lot
Yeah.
changes in
I mean,
6
thinking
weeks.
of weekly being fast is like
Yeah.
funny now because like, writers are on deadlines to get something in by 2 o'clock.
But also on top of it, then you had the influx of cell phones and the internet. The next thing you know, people are getting their new wrestling news information from the web and the wrestling magazines. Unless you like to cut out a pinup and put it on your wall, a lot of fans didn't have any use for them anymore. And I think that's what really killed the business I was in for the most part.
Yeah, I mean, and that probably applies to any form of printed journalism. Whether it's a trade or wrestling. That cycle is pretty devastating to local news too. I don't have great solutions for these problems though.
I don't either. I don't either.
I can
No.
talk about them and say they exist, but how to fix them is beyond my understanding or capabilities.
Well, if you look at the Washington Post, I'm sure the bottom line had something to do with letting all those people go. In terms of if you, I know the owner has a gazillion billion dollars, but the thing is, if you look at it as its own entity, I'm sure it lost money every year the last several years.
Well, I think a lot of what's going to happen with media now is it serves as a brand for something else. Let me try to explain this so I don't sound less douchey. Um, you're going to see people buying publications, and they're not expecting to make money just off of the publication itself, like people subscribing or reading the articles or watching the videos. They're going to use that to drive influence and then make money around the publication. Like have events and merch, or like if you look at what Time Magazine is doing, the Salesforce CEO about Time, they just have like Time branded shit all over the place. Time Magazine isn't hardly anything anymore, and like the magazine itself and even the website is making not that much money, but like they can like sell like a Time branded event or have like a Time awards thing that people will pay to attend, or have some sort of B2B thing, and that's where they'll make their money using the name and recognition of Time Magazine to sell all this other shit. I think that's more of what you're going to see is they'll put money into the publication to keep it alive, to keep that name alive, but they don't expect it to make money. It's there to serve
Right.
some other corporate interest.
Right. Yeah.
Which is, it's nice to keep those things alive, and people have to adapt and innovate in a tough media climate, but quality of the written word on those places will probably suck.
I don't want to sound too businessy, but another thing that's hurting anything that's printed is printing. I have been involved in print publishing since, 1982. Okay. Straight along. All the businesses I've been in. The cost of printing something now is prohibitively expensive.
Oh, yeah.
Anything from a newspaper to a bound book to packaging, everything, every corrugated cardboard, no matter what you name, anything with paper goes up and up and up. And that's why you see newsstand special magazines on a rack at a supermarket for $14.95, and people are repelled by that. They don't buy them. But by the
But,
same token, if you publish a magazine that sells for $6, it's going to have 24 pages in it. That is a factor that nobody looks at these days.
well, yeah, and when I say printed word too, I'm even just mean it's hard to sell written, even if it's on your phone, like even if it's digital, it's
Right.
hard to make that a business. When you're talking physical media
Right.
outside of hobbyists, that's really really challenging.
It really is. I don't know how people are doing it right now. I just don't. So when you add
Well,
the
I don't think many people are doing it.
well, there's the thing. I look back at my hometown newspaper, which is now part of a small chain in upstate New York, because I worked for my hometown newspaper as my first journalism job. I don't know how they're doing it. The circulation, because the population hasn't gone up and more people are getting, digital news. I still read 2 of the New York newspapers every day. One of them is the New York Times, and I buy the digital editions, to be honest with you. I want to support the industry, but by the same token, I want my news every day. There's a choice that everybody has to make, and that kind of segues into wrestling too. Like, where do I find my shows? Is there an app for this? Can I watch it on my phone? And I think a lot of wrestling fans do, to be honest with you. I never saw that coming.
Well, yeah, they have to watch it where it's convenient for them. Right now, though, with media rights, everything's all over the place. Like you said, it's not just wrestling. If you want to try to watch the Yankees this summer, I guarantee you there's going to be a span where they're going to play like 5 games over a week, and they'll be on 5 different stations. Like it's going to be like a streaming only thing, and then like an RSN, and then a nationally televised like TV market, and then like MLB Network or something. Like you'll have to jump and jump and jump, even if you buy the season pass thing, because that has local blackout restrictions. I don't think it's ever been more frustrating Like in some ways we have better access. Like you could pull up shows at any time. You can watch them on demand. You can watch them on any device. But like you have to like pay attention where to like even if you're a fan of them, you have to pay attention to where they're showing because it's not going to be consistent.
No, nothing is because everybody has their finger in their fiduciary pie, so to speak. So they want some money.
Yeah.
And you know what? These sports organizations, I can't blame them. Here comes NBC running at the NBA going, we'll give you this much money. And they go, oh, yeah, sure. But you don't know if that means your game's going to be on NBA, NBC, or Peacock, or wherever else they decide to stream it. Like I said, I'm a Knicks fan, and it could be on any one of 5 different networks now. Astounding.
Yeah. You have to like go to the homepage of the team the day of the game and find
That's
out.
what. That's one of the reasons I still subscribe to the New York Daily News because in the sports section they still have the agate in the back, right? The small print, right? And they
Yeah.
have a TV guide box daily, and each box shows you all the local teams and shows you which network they're going to be on. I find that invaluable. I don't want to have
TV
to go
guide.
searching around. Yeah, it's a little tiny TV guide.
Yeah,
I just find it amazing that the TV guide itself is still printed.
that is amazing. Gosh, TV Guide. In '99, they were putting wrestlers on the cover.
Yes,
I
they
mean,
were.
that was interesting. I think
Mhm.
they had Goldberg on the cover. That's something they probably wouldn't have done 10 years before that.
No, absolutely not. And going back to 1999, the content here's the funny part about it. The content was getting, shall we say, more mature or a little more adult. Some of it was a lot more adult. And yet, fans clamored for more.
Mm-hmm.
And parents were still bringing their kids to this stuff, which is an interesting mindset in my mind. Really? You know, the semi-nudity and the girls being stripped and having, mud pit matches and bikini matches and stuff, and you're still bringing your 4-year-old or your toddler? I have to admit, too, it just popped in my mind before I forget this. There was a period, they do that little, if you look at a WWE show, they show Then Now, what is it? Then Now Together or something like in the beginning. It's a little package of the history of WWE before every program they have.
Okay.
What is it? Then Now or something else? I can't remember. I'm 106 years old.
Then Now Forever. I don't know.
Right. Right Now Forever. You got it. Here's the thing. One of the things they showed is an adult with a happy, chortling, literal baby, right? A baby. It looks like a baby who may be 1 or 2 years old. You're bringing your 1 or 2-year-old to see guys hit each other head with chairs and put each other on fire and curse.
Well, if they're 1, they don't know what's going on.
What an indoctrination to the
They
sports
can't
world.
they can't see 5 feet in front of their face.
Oh my gosh. I just find that hard to fathom. Even if the adults like it, you let the kid be 10 or 12, but a baby? I'm just appalled. I'm sorry.
I
always
never
been appalled
was
by
brought
that.
in as a baby, but I was probably youngest I probably was attending a show. I was probably like 8. I went to tapings of like some house shows and went to a WCW Thunder. My parents were old when they had me, so they stopped caring. They were just like, "This is fine." Or
Oh, that sounds like there could be an advantage just growing up like that, I think,
yeah,
right?
yeah. There's worse things. We don't have the energy. If this is what he's into, okay.
There you go. So did you go to a lot of live events in your youth?
No, yeah, I mean, not a ton, but when they would come through Nebraska, I would go to some. I mean, I probably went to like maybe like 5.
Okay.
We didn't have the access. Like you lived in New York, like that's you could go to wrestling show whatever you wanted to.
But I was in upstate rural New York where we had to go to Albany to see it in
Oh.
an armory, not Madison Square Garden.
True.
And back then we
And
weren't rich.
WWF did a lot of shows in Poughkeepsie, right? Or is that like
Eventually.
later? You're probably
That was
you're
later
probably
on.
older then. Yeah.
Later on, yeah. That was the TV tapings of Poughkeepsie
Yeah.
too. They used
Yep.
that as their regular, taping center. I go way back when they were doing the TV shows in Pennsylvania, and then they had house shows A and B, and we were in a B town, and so that the closest one to us is the one we went to see. We got to see preliminary wrestlers fight each other instead of the stars, but you'd have a main event of guys you heard of, but
Mhm.
then you'd have 2 guys in the opening match you might not even know who they are. So that's how they promoted back then.
Yeah, I would like try to go when they would come, but a big promotion like WWF or WCW, they might not come for more than a year, like at all.
Right.
It might even
Right.
be a few
Mhm.
years. So the reason I go to a house show rather than like Raw is because the house show is what was available to me.
Yeah, but that's true. Same with us. I mean, all we could see was those little 5-match. Oh
Mhm.
gosh, dude! In the '70s, when we used to go to wrestling, they used to literally sell the tickets and make change out of an El Producto cigar box. There wasn't even a cash register. I'm serious. Just be a big wooden folding table with an old man behind it, ringside or bleachers, and that was as far as the conversation went. Could you imagine? And then before you knew it was WrestleMania 3 in a Pontiac Silverdome, same company. How do you feel about those growth years? To go from that, to go from selling tickets out of a cigar box
Yeah.
to being one of the biggest entertainment forms there is. Because let's face it, today's wrestlers and the presentation, when you go to a live stadium show, it's like going to a Taylor Swift concert. Same
Oh, it's
entertainment
incredible.
mindset. Yeah,
And I think the stuff wrestling's done has influenced people, like, I mean, not necessarily Taylor Swift, but just rock stars and even sports. Like, the way that, like, football teams come out of the arena now is very wrestling
very
like.
wrestling,
They
very
didn't
wrestling. Yeah,
they didn't football team like, these sports teams weren't the first ones to do that. These, like, really spectacular entrances, I feel like, is stolen from wrestling. Wrestling was doing that first, and politicians even do it now. They come out to, like, a rally and, like, it seems like they're, like, main eventing SummerSlam or something, like,
right.
it's crazy. They got, like, sparklers and pyro and shit and, like, their own entrance music, so, that's something from wrestling that I feel like is really embedded itself in, like, the broader culture, is that style of, presentation. But this, you asked about those growth years, that's before, like, that happened before the time period I cover in the book, but I
Mhm.
do, um find it really incredible that they were able to pull that off, and, I think the timing was really. I know WrestleMania was like a closed circuit pay-per-view thing, but, the promotion of it was cable television, which was dog shit in its early days, but when it really came into its own at the same time that, like, WWF blew up with WrestleMania, like, 1 through 5. I feel like they rode that crest of cable TV like, it may be just lucky timing, really. Like, they hit at the right time for that.
I think it was a good promotional tactic to have this. Well, actually, 2. If you go way back to the advent of the pay-per-views, you'd have WrestleMania and you'd have SummerSlam. You would have 2 high focus events that everything built through for 6-month builds in both one.
Mhm.
So fans then got conditioned, these are the big shows. These are the ones I have to see. These are the ones I have to buy or attend because they were the biggest events of the year. And I think it's still that way today, all these years later.
Yeah, the tentpole, event is still what carries the promotion. It's what gets casual viewers like me to come in. Like, even though I like wrestling, I don't know if I'd be like, wrestling fans probably poo-poo my fandom because I watch so seldomly, but when I do come in, it's because I know SummerSlam or Rumble, Royal Rumble or WrestleMania is coming up. That's how you connect to a much broader audience. You need those events to make stars. Like, if you think about, like, the star level that, like, Batista or John Cena obtained outside of wrestling,
Mhm.
they needed, like, pay-per-views to reach that mass awareness to ever become movie stars like that.
And now they're on a par. Or
Yeah.
some wrestlers become movie stars, right? It's amazing. A guy like Dave Batista, for example, who was never the top of the
No.
rung.
Incredible Hollywood career, though.
Unbelievable at this point. For a big, rough-looking guy, he's extremely likable, and they exploited that better than the WWE did, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, and he's funny.
Yeah. He was never funny on wrestling,
No.
right? Never,
Yeah.
right? He was just a big brute.
Yeah, but when you see what he's done in, like, Guardians of the Galaxy, like, and various other movies, he definitely had a talent there for that.
I think he made the right choice, I'll tell you that much.
Well, you'll probably see, I mean, there's always been that to some degree, the wrestler who goes to Hollywood, and obviously Hogan did that way before these guys, but the level of success seems different now, like
Yeah.
post-Rock.
And we haven't seen the last of it, I'll tell you that much.
No, no. Um,
I could see several of today's WWE roster in film. I could see Rhea Ripley being a film star. There's just a lot of them who have this unique original charisma. And that's the thing that I do like about current wrestling is that, and WWE does this better than anybody else. Somehow, a wrestler could be one thing a year ago and a different thing this year. And sometimes it's just that one moment that turns him into a star. One moment. It's like they said when way back when Steve Austin came out and said, you know, he was doing an interview, yelling at Jake the Snake Roberts. He goes, he had a Bible psalm, and then Austin goes, well, Austin 3:16 just kicked your ass, bang, star. It was such an audacious thing to say for its time. It got him over. Or
Yep.
Becky Lynch standing at the top of an arena with a bloody
96
nose.
King of the Ring, right?
Yeah, or Becky Lynch standing at the top with a bloody nose because she was, becoming this force, and all the fans went, "Wow." When they do something you don't think they can do is when these wrestlers look at The Rock. Everybody hated The Rock too when he started out.
Yeah, the Rocky Maivia
Right.
angle did not work out, but by the time he's laying the people's elbow, he's like the biggest thing in the country. Not even just in wrestling. Like he's like such a star.
It's funny. One of the sports where I don't know if this is Bob Coster or Phil Mushnick, and I got to look up this quote, but here's the quote. Wrestling used to be good guy versus bad guy. Today, it's bad guy versus worse guy.
It sounds like a Mushnick thing.
Yeah, it sounds like Mushnick. But today, there really isn't really good guys. The squeaky clean, shake your hand, smile on the way to the ring, wave at the fans, white bread superstar. Now everybody has an itch to them. Do you find that appealing, or do you think it's creating a cookie cutter kind of outlook on pro wrestling?
I get the sense of why you would do that, though. I feel like having a good guy has become less believable because you see less of them in the
real
world.
life.
So it's harder to sell that now.
You are right. No, you're right. I didn't even think of those terms. Name somebody who doesn't have a little rough edges on them. I can't name anyone.
Yeah, everyone's got like skeletons in the closet, and it's easier to find people's baggage now than it's ever been. So, like, if someone's done something kind of heinous in their past, almost always, it's more often than not going to be public now in a way that it would have been harder to keep under the rug 30 years ago. So, I feel like part of the reason they don't have those characters is it would be harder to sell it now.
So basically, as we get back to
which is kind of depressing.
It is very depressing. You're right.
Yeah.
But again, the name of the book is 1999, the year low culture conquered America and kickstarted our bizarre times. Here's the question: do you think the world's better now or worse since you were a kid? I mean, in terms of the way media is run, the way journalism is conducted, the way television is produced, are you still a avid consumer of media after everything you've researched, and not only in this book, but all of your books?
I'm an avid consumer for sure of any media that I'm interested in, but I think it's worse because we have so much more of everything. It spreads quality out. Like, I feel like quality is kind of finite. It's harder to find that now and like sift through all the BS. I'm going to sound old, but like I prefer the old way as far as producing a healthy society. But everyone probably feels that way at some point after they become an adult.
There's a point that was somebody made way back when. And when I was a kid, back in the dark ages, we had 3 broadcast TV stations and educational TV, PBS. That's all we had. And yet, in those days, we never felt like we were missing anything.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the choices when you turn your television on are myriad. You can't even go to every station in a day to look at them all. You have so many stations, so many extra choices like the HBOs of the world and things like that. And yet people seem less entertained now than they did in the old days, right? I mean,
Yeah.
that's sort of an odd thing. You would figure we're very satisfied with all we have. But even with all the plentiful media choices we have, people still don't think they have enough.
Well, people also, they spend more time with media now. So if they may not feel that they have enough, but they're actually monetizing it more and like looking at it more than they used to. Like the average time spent with, like if you, not just, when I say television, I don't just mean like cable. I'm counting streaming as television. The average time that people spend watching TV or streaming combined gone up tremendously in even the last 15 years, not even the 90s. Like if you looked at 2010 to now, people are spending like more than an hour per day additionally watching this shit than they did then. So I feel like they're not satisfied because their hunger is unquenchable. Like they don't withdraw when they're not satisfied. On average, people tend to they're gonna watch stuff on their phone or on their smart TV even if they don't like what's on. They're not doing other activities. They're spending too much time with media, is what I'm saying.
Exactly, and I think we're all searching for something we're not finding. That's the key to me.
Yeah.
I think, at least in America, I think people are searching for something to entertain them that they're not finding, which leads to changes in media, changes in the way broadcast TV is, changes in the way it's disseminated, particularly. Like I said, right now we're in such a confusing period. Do I stream or do I get cable? Do I put my rabbit ears back up like I did when I was 4 years old? It's so many choices that it become overwhelming, and therefore satisfaction grows lesser.
Yeah, I think as consumption rises, general satisfaction gets worse. There's more TV shows produced than there ever have been before. Like over 500 scripted series a year, and if you count reality shows, it's like in the thousands, and that's every year. It compounds itself because you can't watch every show that's produced that year. So when you think about what's
Right.
produced over a 10-year period, it just compounds and compounds and compounds. And yet people say, they'll be watching TV and they'll say, "There's nothing on. There's
Nothing on
nothing on
tonight.
TV today, nothing good on." Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Here's the funny thing too. I want to get your opinion on this. It seems like the traditional networks, ABC, CBS, NBC, getting lost in the dust now. There are so many choices that like Netflix is looked upon as a network, whereas you couldn't say that 15 years ago. It was just another place to stream something. And Amazon Prime, and everybody has their own, Peacock, everything have their
Mhm.
own original series now. And people hear about them, word of mouth grows, and next thing you know, you're getting HBO and this and that. You're buying like 70 these different packages every month, and you wonder why your cable bill's over $200. Something's gotta give. I mean, it's almost too much.
Mhm. Well, yeah, there will be, services right now that exist that are going to be either consolidated or just folded altogether because 'cause they're not all profiting, like, if you look at streaming especially. And then the broadcast networks are doing stronger than the cable networks. The cable networks are really screwed because, like, people aren't paying for cable TV, so, like, a lot of these
Right.
they've already folded a lot of these stations. So, like, a lot of those, like Comedy Central, I don't know what the future of that is. I think CBS and Fox and NBC have a brighter future than those cable networks, but it's still a pretty dim outlook. Yeah, there's several hundred streaming services, even though there's like 9 main ones. They won't all continue to exist. Like Apple TV, for instance, loses a bunch of money. One day, Apple's going to decide we don't need to have a streaming service just to market our stuff. Like we're in the business of selling $2,000 computers. Why are we doing this? And they could just pull the plug on it at any time. So
Yeah.
I think you're going to see stuff like that happen in the next 5 years.
Well, I just hope podcasts hold up for another couple of years anyway, because I'm doing fine with this one. And I want to thank
Podcasts are
you.
doing great.
They are. And I want to thank you for coming on this podcast. This is Ross Benish again. And the book, 1999, The Year Low Culture Conquered America and Kickstarted Our Bizarre Time. It's a fine piece of work. And before I let you go, the floor is yours. Tell people about you, your books, anything you want to talk about, where they can find you on social media, or anything else you'd like to express.
Oh, yeah, sure thing. I mean, you can just find me at rossbenish.com. I'm on Twitter sometimes. Main book for your interest is probably the 1999 one that covers all the entertainment from that era, including a long chapter on pro wrestling. But I've also written books about sex and Midwestern politics. Connect to me through email is probably the easiest way. And I don't have anything else to promote right now because since I had the book, I had another kid, and that's what I'll be doing. That's my next project is just raising these kids. I don't have anything upcoming other than my day job, which is not of interest here.
But before I let you go, I took liberty of looking at your past, and you've written for the Smithsonian, Entertainment Weekly, the American Prospect, The Nation, New York Magazine, Rolling Stone, Slate, the Wall Street Journal. As one writer to another, I'm wearing short pants here. You have had quite the career. You're such a young guy already. How do you do it? That's pretty good, man. I mean,
I
it's
really
like
appreciate that.
no, seriously, it's like that. You have A-plus list accomplishments at such a young age. I'm not going to ask your age, but I'm looking at you. You probably look like you're about half my age, if that. I mean, it's like, where do you see your career ending up? What would you like to be doing in the future?
I mean, what I would like to do is just continue to write about things I'm interested in for magazines and websites that I really like some of those that you listed. Do a book, once every few years and get in eventually into like documentary work. Like I was just featured in the ABC documentary Dirty Talk about 90s talk shows. I would like to do more of that and even be like on the production side eventually. That'd be kind of cool. But realistically, writing is very challenging. And I've also worked as a market research analyst for the last 8 years. And I'll probably be doing more of that to pay the bills because you can have your ideal of what you want to do, but then there's things that you need to do to keep everything stable. And the market research has helped me do that. So, I won't be able to leave that anytime. And I kind of do both and balance them.
Pretty good. I've done it too. I used to balance my magazine career with the music career at the same time. So it was like, it's if you can strike that balance, your life's pretty cool. And it seems like you're doing that right now. And I got to say, I'm super impressed. The quality of your writing is spectacular, folks. Look up Ross Benish and all his books. You will not be disappointed. Ross, I can't thank you enough. This has been an eye opener for conversation. I really appreciate it.
Hey, it was really fun. I enjoyed being here.
I'm glad you did. Okay, it's Ross Benish. Get 1999. Attention, Gen Xers. If you'd like to explore the era that appeals to you, look no further than GenerationXWire.com. The generation who grew up with the elite in entertainment, music, movies, TV, books, pro wrestling, and more finally has a one-stop destination for all their Gen X needs. From Aerosmith to Batman to the Killer Bees to the Twilight Zone, there's something for everybody at GenerationXWire.com. You won't find a more eclectic mix of pop culture content than at the leading website that specializes in the greatest generation, GenerationXWire.com. Check it out today. That is our podcast for this time. I want to thank Ross Benish for stopping in. Check out that book whenever you get an opportunity to do it. It's available just for ease. I'll say it's on Amazon, plus there's a Kindle version of it. And you're going to want to check it out. It's well worth your time. He hits on so many things. I think he thinks faster than I can walk. I will put it that way. Well, anyway, we're glad I have him on the show, and I think it was entertaining. I hope you think so, too. Write to us, outdatedwrestling@gmail.com. Find me on Facebook. I am the only Bob Smith you'll find singing with BB King. Our website, outdatedwrestlinghour.buzzsprout.com. All of our editions are there. You can find them just at the click of a button. But in any event, right now, listen away. And we really appreciate it. It's funny. Last few months, maybe 2 months, I have checked out our in-house statistics, and we're finding that we get probably half as many listens to old shows as we do the total count of new shows every week. So we really appreciate the fact that you're picking and choosing and finding something you like to listen to. It just warms the cockles of our hearts, as they used to say. Find me on Facebook. I'm the only Bob Smith you'll find singing with BB King. I'm at every other social media in the world, including X/Twitter, Blue Sky, Threads, you name it. I'm bopping around all of them. I'm either Bob Smith or outdated_Bob, depending on where you go. So I think that's it for now. We're going to get out of here. We had a long show. We hope you think it's a good show. And we will see you next week, hopefully. And by the way, if you'd like to help perpetuate the ongoing goings-on of this show, it's the Outdated Wrestling Hour fan club. You can read all about it, outdatedwrestling.buzzsprout.com. For as little as $3 a month, you can help perpetuate the existence of this show, as well as our secondary show, the Outdated Entertainment Hour. Thanks again. In the words of Ringo Starr, peace and love, brothers and sisters. Peace and love.